Hello and welcome to Not Another Football Podcast. I'm Luke and this is Ollie, and we're here each week to discuss the Premier League. And today's episode, we're going to be covering the latest game that literally took place this evening, Arsenal v Liverpool. And this is our match reaction after that 2-2 game. And you won't know because you've been new to this and not many people listening at the moment, but I'm a Liverpool fan and Ollie is a Chelsea fan. So yeah, let's dive into it. Arsenal v Liverpool, Ollie. I think as a, the person who shouldn't be biased, well, I know you'll have some sort of biases, but you shouldn't be that biased. What's your opinion on the game this evening?
Should be an Arsenal hater. That's my bias. On the point of Curtis Jones, yeah, the game kind of passed him by, and he's good at that slot in terms of making tactical changes at halftime to dig you out, and looked like the same today. To be fair,
yeah. I think, to be fair, the first half, I mean, it felt like they were just in the ascendancy, and I wouldn't say we were hanging on, but we felt like we were on the ropes a little bit. Arsenal definitely could have bagged another goal, I think, and probably gone in at halftime 3-1 up. But I know they scored relatively late on the first half, but just the way we kept giving the ball away. We kept going long, man. It was really frustrating. Playing away from home against the top team, and especially obviously one of your rivals for the league, you're thinking, don't concede too early to give them momentum and build up the crowd. We do that. And also try and get a foothold in the game. Obviously, they're going to have their moments, but try and get a foothold in the game where you do play out from the back, try and beat the press, keep the ball, stuff like that. Then mix it up and go long where you can. And if you can, we were just going long so quickly. And then as a result, Arsenal were just picking up the second ball pretty much every time, being able to attack again, obviously build up more and more pressure. So for that first half, it did feel like it could have been a half where, you go in and you ultimately you've lost the game. But we managed to only go in 2-1 down, which obviously gave us a big hope in the second half. And then essentially they went defensive, sat back, a lead to protect. I know it's quite natural, isn't it, for teams to do that and players on the pitch and stuff like that. But Gabriel got injured, and I think, who was it who came on for him now? Was it Kivior? I think it was. So obviously Gabriel went off injured as well. So then they're playing Ben White and Kivior centre half, and you think, well, they're gonna as a result just sit deeper and deeper trying to protect them, and they weren't as on the front foot and aggressive. So that obviously let us play into the game a bit more, and we got more of a foothold. But we essentially managed to nick a point, I'd say. Quite happy overall. I mean, after the second half, I think, to be fair, actually, once we did equalise, I thought we should have gone for it. Gone for the kill. Got the third and the winner, but I wouldn't say we sat off. They obviously decided to start trying to push again, but we looked a bit tired, ultimately.
I think with Kelleher, do you think he'll get replaced in next year by the new guy that you brought in for Valencia just for that reason? Because he's not as good with his feet, or do you think that they'll actually take Alisson out, given that he's only got 18 months left on his contract, and bring lad from Valencia in?
Well, I actually think Kelleher's really good with his feet.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was just decision making, I couldn't make my mind up if it's decision making and then, because it's a high pressure game, because he is really good with his feet and then he's playing the ball too long, or it was a mixture of centre backs and obviously full backs not showing enough for him to give him the chance to play it out, and then obviously midfielders coming deep to receive the ball. So it was probably a mixture of all those things, because usually Keller is really good with his feet, but maybe with the high press of Arsenal, decision making wasn't quite up to scratch. But I think he's been brilliant for us, standing keeper whenever Alisson's been injured. Unfortunately, he's been quite a bit in the last few years, but Kelleher, I'm pretty sure will leave. He has to be a number one. Mamardashvili is going to probably be he is the future number one. I don't know what's going to happen with Alisson. I don't know if they're going to cash in the summer, because I think he's got 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah, I think he's got 18 months left now, wouldn't he? Well, when it gets through to December anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So Mamardashvili, does he come in and play understudy for that last season of Alisson, or do they try and make some money on Alisson and sell, even though Alisson's still one of the best in the world, if not the best in some people's opinions? So yeah, it'll be an interesting one with that. But Kelleher ultimately, I think, has been really good for us. But yeah, from Arsenal's point of view, what do you think? Do you think they're going to be? Well, I feel like we're more happy with a point, obviously away from home, and after the way the first half transpired. Whereas I know you can make the argument Arsenal could be very happy with a point because of the injuries that they've got and Saliba being banned. But ultimately, I don't think it's that many injuries from the first team. Kind of similar to us. We had Alisson and Jota missing, who were our starters. They had Odegaard, Saliba missing, and Calafiori? Am I missing someone else? And obviously Calafiori and Timber, they rotate anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Odegaard that's the killer for them, just like it is with Rodri for City. Neither team have looked the same since they lost either of those players. It's just City have picked up more points in that period, and Arsenal haven't. Albeit Arsenal have probably had tougher fixtures, and City have got a bit more lucky towards the end of their games, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal's still very much in it, aren't they? As soon as they get those players back, they're arguably the best side. You would say. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be a question of whether they can keep all the players fit. And when going back to what you were saying before about Liverpool with the long balls, like, they are so strong in terms of their press from the front, and then when you do go long, you're playing against 4 centre halves, and they're always winning. They're always winning those first balls.
Yeah,
that'll set them up. They can play lots of different ways, Arsenal, as well. Dynamic in that, from that perspective. So yeah, we shall see.
Do you think though they'd be happy with a point in the end, or more disappointed because they conceded quite late on?
I think if you lose that game early on in the into a title rival, it's not just 3 points lost, is it? It's 6 points. 6 points. So yeah, I think they would be happy with the point.
Yeah, avoid defeat, and with the players, like you said, missing, get them back. Do you think? So you ultimately don't think this is a dent? Because I think, what are they, 5 points off City now?
Yeah. I mean, it's 5 points off the top. It's more than catchable after 9 games.
True. It's just one of those, though, don't you think? With City, it's like chasing them down. It feels like sometimes once they get ahead, it's just impossible to keep up with them. But you're banking on the deduction, aren't you?
I think the deduction throws them well into play. That's why I think you and it's between you and Liverpool.
Hey, I'm not Arsenal, by the way.
Oh yeah, you and Arsenal. To be fair, I think that's like I just said, it throws you well into play. But City, I mean, you can say, it's better chasing them, it's better to be ahead than them. Fundamentally, they just don't.
They just win it.
Their points accumulation is always, one season it's been always 90 points plus. So you've got to try and match that. You can't really look at it like game by game in terms of chasing them. It's just fundamentally, can you get to that 90 points plus mark, which I think is going to be very difficult for any of the teams to do. But City look the most likely, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. I do feel like, though, whenever I watch them play this season, that they do look a little bit more vulnerable. Obviously, the Rodri's a killer because he's not protecting the back four as much. And you feel like it's going to catch him up, especially coming into the winter months, and obviously, how the fixture list gets congested in this time of the season. And I feel like it might be the same with Arsenal, in the sense of, because if Gabriel's out for a while, then they might have an issue, obviously, with, I don't know who they'll play there. They might play Ben White. They obviously play Partey at right back today. I don't know if that would be the long-term solution once, depending on how long Gabriel's out for. If that coincides with Odegaard still missing quite a few games, I then feel in that slog of games, that's when you drop the points, isn't it? Because you don't have your strongest team available. Then if rotation, you probably rotate less as a result. More injuries can happen. So this could be a really good time for Liverpool if we put a run together now till obviously the new year, even though we're in a difficult run of fixtures anyway. If we put a run now to the end of the year, and Arsenal and City obviously still have these City definitely will have Rodri missing, and Arsenal will have some of the players missing for a little bit longer. We could end up coming out of that on the other side of the year, of the new year, being in a pretty decent position. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win the league or anything like that, but I'm just saying to give ourselves a chance. It might, with Rodri missing, you just, I don't know if City will get to 90 plus points, you know.
It will be much harder with, Rodri swapping out for Kovacic is
your mate, yeah.
is minus a few points. Like, he just can't, he just hasn't, he's nowhere near that level. And also, like, he doesn't score it. He doesn't contribute anywhere near enough goals from that position that they need him to. So, for that reason, then, yeah, it might be under that 90 plus point mark, but is it psychologically better chasing them or ahead of them? Who knows with them? They've been able to do it either way, which way, for the past 6 out of the last 7 seasons. So I don't think that really comes into it.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Do you know, did you hear Carragher talking about Arsenal after the game by any chance? About Arteta?
I didn't hear his thoughts on Arteta, no.
He was saying that basically everyone thought he was obviously a Pep disciple and he would play the Pep Guardiola style of football and, basically keep pushing to kill off teams in games and stuff like that. But he then said ultimately he's actually morphing more into a Jose Mourinho style of coach. Dark arts, obviously being solid defensively, dropping deeper in games to see out games and try and defend that narrow lead. And I thought I'd ask you about it being a Chelsea fan. Obviously, you were there for the glory days with Mourinho. Do you see that in Arteta?
I see it certainly in terms of the four centre halves in the big. I wouldn't say big games. He does that every game now with Arsenal, and they are like they're pretty defensive mindedly team. They set up exactly the same way as Chelsea did at times in terms of under the Mourinho reign, and they have certainly using, like we said in a couple of episodes, they're using every trick in the book, the old classic Mourinho when it comes to international fixtures and not releasing the players. So there's some similarities there for sure. It's just Arteta, I guess, doesn't come with that record or winning mentality coming into that team. Like, he hasn't actually achieved any of the things that Mourinho had even done by the time that he came to Chelsea. So whilst I'm sure those players have got trust and faith in him, I feel like if they get towards the end of this season and they haven't got over the line, then I really think the players will start to question his methods.
Oh, really? So you think they'd question the methods rather than maybe just saying, City just too good, and then once if Pep left, then I think they must be thinking like, oh, we'll do it this year.
Yeah, but then if Pep stays, then it's just like,
it's a slog again.
How do we get out of this?
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it could be one of those things. If they don't win it this season, I don't know how long you sustain being second best until you finally make the step into being obviously winning the league. There's usually a drop off, and will that drop off happen next season if they didn't win it again? And would Arteta then keep his job, or even like from his own personal point of view, would he be willing to stick it through to then build again to try and go again? I don't know. He might even be linked with City if, say, Pep did leave. So obviously a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, that would be some move.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Touching on Liverpool though, obviously now after slots, last week we've had Chelsea, now Arsenal away. People saying like we've had an easy start to the season. After seeing us against the likes of yourself and obviously Arsenal away, what do you think about Arsenal? Do you think we're in it for the long haul with the title race, or?
Yeah, I still think you're like we said. I still think you're favourites for the title if there's a deduction. So, i.e., if City get points deducted, then I think you will win the league. Like, I think there's a strong chance you'll win the league. You might need to, obviously, with that, you'll need players to stay fit And if not, then you'll need to strengthen in January. And like you were saying last week, and probably this week highlighted it even more, is that you need to look to strengthen Robertson. Like for the first time, he looked in a Premier League game, and a top Premier League game, he looked like he was violently exposed by Saka. And I've not seen too many players on too many occasions do that to Robertson. Obviously, he's had bad games before, but yeah, it looked cut wide open. Whereas across the pitch, aside from that, you still look like you've got strength and depth across everywhere. It's just maybe left back that's the weakest.
Yeah, he struggled last week against Madueke at the start. He grew into the game, to be fair to him, I thought. Whereas this week, again, he struggled against Saka. I mean, Saka is really good, so, it can happen to anyone. But he didn't really grow into the game either, and he seemed to struggle every time Saka ran at him, managed to get the ball, even when, isolating him, but even when he doubled up, he was still managing to maybe take it past Robertson and get a crossing and stuff like that. So that's a concern, I think. Tsimikas did actually quite well when he came on. He did a lot better. Obviously, Saka at that point's a bit more tired, so, and fresh legs. But still, Tsimikas did do better than Robertson. We do need to find a replacement because I think it is quite worrying, especially when you're trying to win the top prizes, which, that's what we want to try and do. We're going to have to find a replacement because Tsimikas won't be the answer long term. And Robertson is just... You see those glimpses against Madueke, then you see the game today, and he was highlighted even more. And you just start thinking to yourself, is he coming the other side of the hill? Obviously, he got to the peak. Is he coming down that? But how steep's that drop off going to be?
Yeah.
So I feel like sell Tsimikas would be my goal. Sell Tsimikas and probably bring in a younger left back to challenge Robertson for the starting position, take it off him, and have Robertson as the rotational option for a season or two. Then move him on and probably bring through someone else.
Saka's so good though, right? He just makes... I know we're talking about Robertson and Liverpool there, but Saka is just like 95% of the time, he just always makes the right decision, which for a winger is absolutely crazy. It's just so good, his consistency in terms of making, like, whether to cut inside, take the shot, whether to chop down the line, put the ball in. Like, he's just mega consistent with it.
He is.
He's got tons of ability.
Yeah, very effective. Would you say he's world class? I think that's a big debate going on.
I would say he's world class. Yeah.
So would I. I think playing at that level, he's very consistent.
Yeah.
I think that earns the right. I mean, it's like the other guy at the other end, though, Salah, stepping up again. Yeah. His record against the top 5, top 6.
Yeah.
Unreal. I mean,
nice stumble from Nunes. Just thought, that's where he's weakest, so fair play to him.
Yeah, well, Trent finally pulled out a good pass. I mean, I felt like Trent had a really poor game. On the ball more so than off it. Obviously, he got exposed a couple of times. Konate held. I didn't think he was ultimately like terrible defensively. I just thought he was very average. But on the ball, he was really poor. And then, which you don't expect from him. But then he did play that killer pass to Nunes. And like you said, Nunes kept his composure. Good pass to Salah. And I was very happy because I did not see that coming. It was one of those that we grew into the game second half. And there was a period where I thought we're going to get it. But then we just started giving away the ball again, and our build-up play was non-existent for like a little stretch, 10-minute period. And I was thinking, is it just going to fizzle out and we don't actually get the equaliser? But yeah, it was good to get it. I feel like one thing though I wanted to highlight was I spoke to you about this a few weeks ago when I said I was really interested to see how we would perform away at a big team, having Gravenberch as the holding mid, and if we would be able to basically control the game a bit more. Now, obviously, we did second half, but I've already spoke about why that might be. But the first half, it actually felt like, I mean, we were tighter defensively than we were under Klopp still, but it still felt a bit like a Klopp first half away, like in like last season and the last couple of seasons when we've gone away to the big teams. Still felt like we just couldn't keep the ball. And like I said, because we kept going long and stuff like that, and making bad decisions. So I hope that's something we get ironed out because we need to be able to go, because obviously City and stuff like that, we need to be able to go and control games, I think, a bit better, especially if we want to win the league and take points off our rivals, as well as moving into European games. And obviously they're a little bit slower European games anyway, so probably a bit easier to do. But I don't like the hectic nature because it always felt like that second goal for Arsenal was coming in that first half. I don't know if you felt the same.
Yeah, it was pretty open. Like you said, I think the main thing was just when you get possession towards your goal lead, like you weren't able to thread it into any of the defenders, whether it be the centre backs, the right backs, and then from there you weren't able to engineer anything into the midfield, so it just kept coming back. And like, whilst Salah is decent, well, not just decent, he's very, very good for holding the ball up. Like, they just, because they were always winning that first header, you were never even getting close with the seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And then they could just sustain it. So,
yeah.
But ultimately, I think overall, happy with a point. Obviously, keeps us ticking along. So, and it actually keeps Arsenal within touching distance for you.
Yeah, no, take that.
Well, you're a point behind now.
Same point. No, points the same, I think.
Same. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, after 9 games, if you'd have said that, you'd have snapped start of the season, you'd have snapped their hands off, wouldn't
you? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to take it, mate. We were... oh, no, in fact, yeah, they are 1 point ahead. Sorry, my bad.
Right.
Yeah, I would have still snapped your hand off.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how do you feel the game went today? Obviously, I got to watch you with you, so...
Yeah, as you saw, it was very... I'd say stressed out by the goalkeeping situation, to say the least. I would love to get some Opta stats on the amount of times that Sanchez kicked the ball straight out of play or straight to an opposing Newcastle player, because that was my main gripe. But yeah, I think it's just similar themes to all of the games that we've played thus far this season. Like, defence looks shaky, to say the least. I thought Gusto was... probably had one of his poorer games today. James looked a lot better in the second half, particularly when he went to right back. He grew into it. Colwell and Fofana always seem like they're going to give up chances at the moment. Fofana actually looked better once he got injured because he wasn't as full-blooded, I thought, in regards to his defensive work. But just about hung on. I thought we lost a lot when Lavia started blowing after like 60 minutes, which is totally understandable, given that he hasn't played many games. Caicedo was good with him in the midfield, and that felt a lot more controlled anyway with those two, even as it did in the Liverpool game. So I'd be surprised if that isn't the midfield too going into the United game. I would suggest when we play them in the Premier League. Who else? Madueke was again similar to Gusto down that side, really poor by his standards. Totally lost his confidence and lost his way, and by the second half he'd just kind of given up or gone into a shell of himself.
Easy option, like you said when we were watching it. He kept slowing the game down every time, didn't he?
Slowing the game down and just passing it back, which is not his game. His game is to get the ball out of his feet, excite the fans, and take people on. That's what he's so strong at, but he just didn't do it once. I thought Neto was unlucky not to get man of the match, to be fair. When we talk about wingers making good decisions, Neto's right up there in terms of his ability to do that. And he felt like if Jackson had actually been alive for many of the crosses, he could have got a few more. But I have seen this quite a few times now with Jackson, particularly this season. Is after he's got one goal, he doesn't do anything. And today was
job done sort of
exactly
vibe.
The same job done kind of vibe, which killed us really. Yeah, I was quite disappointed by him, and then going through the final team member, Palmer, leave the best to the last. He was just, some of the things that he was doing are just incredible.
Yeah, that pass, incredible. The pre-assist as they call it, yeah, for Neto, unreal.
The assist, the touch is just dropping in behind Tonali, Moraes, and who was the other midfielder?
Joe Linton.
Joe Linton.
Yeah.
Just getting in all sorts of space, and as we were discussing during the game, Shaw and Burn were having a nightmare. Man. Almost looked like me playing on a Sunday morning. It was they couldn't get close to him.
I don't think you would have followed Palmer in as much as Shaw did, or something more.
No, he was loving it. Maybe he'd been told to do that, but yeah, he couldn't get close to him, could he? He was just,
no. And then they were leaving
dangerous.
Dan Burn exposed like 1v1 with Jackson, which Jackson, looked a threat, like you said, until he scored and then he decided to stop. But
yeah.
It's a weird one. That I don't know why they kept that with Shaw following him in, because they look so exposed every time. Because Palmer, I mean, drop of the shoulder, his first touch is so good, he's able to just get away from him. He made it look easy every time, and then just caused their own problems.
A few of the teams who played out recent weeks, in terms of you guys especially, nullified him, but today he was just just in a different stratosphere. If you give him the space and he finds the space and you don't change it quickly enough as a Premier League team, it's just must be a nightmare to play against, because some of the things that he can see and do are just next level.
I don't know why, especially after Shaw got booked for that blatant, like, just clipping him. I don't know why they just, on the pitch amongst themselves, you know what, this isn't working. Like, one of you, Bruno or Tonali, just sit on him.
None of those three are really defensively minded, are you? You wouldn't
it's Curtis Jones, though.
No, true. Yeah.
And he did that last week. Just even if you put someone in on him and say, like you said, they aren't defensive minded, that's fair. But say if they do get skinned, well, at least then they're still running at two centre halves and a back four, obviously, but two centre halves if he's running directly through the middle, rather than the centre half following him, and the midfielder's already ahead of the centre half and stuff, like, and they're already out of position, not being able to be on the cover. I just found it quite weird, and they were getting exposed, especially after, if you watch the blueprint that we did on him last week, you'd think, well, he's the most dangerous player. He's unreal quality on the ball. The last thing you want to give him is a lot of space and putting in I don't even know how old Shaw is, but having him that far up the pitch to get get turned and spun. It's like,
it's it was good to watch from an attacking sense, but yeah, defensively, I mean, we could have easily got a second. Like, we didn't kill the game whatsoever. So
no,
and then we were under pressure, especially that they had that little chance at the end. It was rather stressful, and it resulted in a corner which we eventually cleared. But yeah, I just think they are missing perhaps a real leader at the back with the experience, and maybe Tosin is that person, but or maybe it's Colwell and Fofana to grow into things together. He obviously likes them, that pairing, the most, but he has been, I think, for us it is just I think we're nearly there with the best starting 11. It's just a case of changing out James onto the right hand side and Kukurea into left back. And then Jorgensen, I would give him a chance, obviously, instead of Sanchez. And then
you've got
a really good starting 11 there, and one that should protect that defence enough and has got enough attacking prowess to cause loads of teams damage.
What do you think? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying we obviously had an absolute touch with the results this weekend going our way. Every single one is coming in our favour.
Yeah. Before, though, we do talk about the other results, I just wanted to quickly ask you, because you kind of touched on it, having no leaders, really. Maresca saying that about James. What's your opinions on that? Obviously saying he expected more leadership qualities from him. Calling him out, essentially.
Yeah, he used the word leadership about 4 times in the same statement. So I think he was pretty clear as to what he was missing. Interesting one, because James, whilst he's been the captain for 2.5 years, has barely played as the captain, or a year and a half, so I should say. Barely played as the captain. So maybe there are things that he's not done within there. I mean, the thing is with James, he didn't exactly grow up, in terms of seeking experience from good captains at Chelsea. It wasn't like he played under any of the other Chelsea legends that he inherited it on. He played a little bit with Azpilicueta, who's obviously an amazing captain, but outside of that, I guess there's not he hasn't got masses of experience to draw upon. He's only 24 years of age.
Yeah.
That is something to him, but who knows what's going on behind the scenes. Like, it's very difficult to say, like, good leader, is he a bad leader? Because he hasn't, the only time you get to see that is as a fan, is him actually on the pitch, and we haven't seen enough of that. And then B, the other part is like behind the scenes. So anybody's saying like, oh, he's good, he's bad, it's like, well, we don't have anything to go on. So it's a bit difficult to like comment on and create something out of that, because fundamentally you don't know.
Yeah, that is true. But Maresca knows.
Maresca knows, and I like the fact that, you know, he is calling people out and asking for more. Like, it's a good time to do it as well when you're in a position of strength, which is good. So yeah, I don't mind it, and he keeps him on side and keeps him playing well. Like,
yeah,
why not? You're in a position of strength with Reece James. He's on a 7-year contract, and he's barely played over the last, you know, year and a half. So why not push him to do more?
Yeah,
I think what I've got just a final thing to say. I think what he wants more out of them is to be stronger individuals, like both physically and mentally. And I think that was a big thing why Fofana stayed on the pitch today, because we have been so weak over the past year and a half with injuries and players popping out of things. So I think he's speaking to that a little bit more. And you know, we've got players on international friendlies who have been awful for us when they've come back the weeks after. So I think this is what he's speaking to as a group, as well as just James. That's my perception of it.
Yeah, and he's basically laying down the gauntlet, isn't he? Challenging him. You know? Yeah. Which why not? You don't mind that from managers. We've had this similar one with Slot, apparently, with Trent. Defensive capabilities, and apparently Trent saying, like, you know, they go through video analysis all the time. Slot's really tough on him with his defensive attributes. And to be fair, even though Trent still isn't great with his defensive attributes, he's getting better. He is getting better under Slot. Whereas I feel like he got to a point where he was kind of comfortable under Klopp with the fact that just certain times where, you know, you're thinking you can at least tuck in on the cover, or at least make an effort to get back into position. Whereas under Klopp, it became like a little bit of a stroll. It was getting highlighted even more. Yeah. But having the new manager, breath of fresh air, and obviously someone challenging him, I think it's been good for him. He's definitely been a lot better this season defensively.
When you're pushing to go for Real Madrid, you know you've got to play well, haven't you?
He's signing a new deal, mate.
Of course he is.
He is. Him, Van Dijk, and Mo Salah are all going to sign new deals. You've heard it here first. I'm in the know.
And Alisson as well.
No, Alisson. No, see, I'm in the know, mate. He ain't signing. Alisson. Right, okay. No, mate. I hope. But yeah, talking about Ballon d'Ors and stuff like that, sounds like he wants to go to Madrid, if you ask me. But yeah, we'll see. Let's hope not. But yeah, as you mentioned though, across the rest of the Premier League with the different results this weekend, obviously really good for you. Villa drawing with Bournemouth. Brighton throwing away a 2-goal lead against Wolves as well, with like 7 minutes to go. Scoring. Yeah, crucially. Danny Welbeck scoring. Yeah, you still think he's better than Sturridge?
He's going to win the Golden
Boot. yeah. Let's. How far is he off, Danny Welbeck? He's on 6 at the moment, so he's only 5 off Haaland. Never know.
Close. Never know.
Yeah, but we do know. Yeah. So yeah,
I'm going to say stranger things have happened, but they probably haven't.
No, but then again, Leicester won the league, so who knows? Who knows? Maybe Danny Welbeck will just keep scoring. Maybe Haaland will get an injury. But yeah, you've had a really good week. We've had a pretty good week in terms of the point, and obviously still 4 points clear of Arsenal and Villa. So you guys not winning, those guys not winning as well, just keeps that little gap between us. Gives us a chance with City. Yeah, so what are you thinking now? Because, I mean, Spurs lost as well, didn't they? So now they're already 5 points off top 4. And Ange Postecoglou always wins something in his second season, so he says. So I think he's met his match at Spurs.
He didn't check the record books or the trophy cabinet before making that statement, did he?
No, he really didn't. You feeling good about the top 4 race then? so far?
I mean, it's going to be swings and roundabouts, really. Like Tottenham will be there and thereabouts. I know they had a bad result today, but they've got good enough attacking players to always be in with the shout. Villa is the one that's like concerning me in terms of, I know they drew, but if they get kind of a head of steam, then it's going to be tough to catch them. Really tough.
I think they're doing what I said a couple of weeks back. I think they're getting a little bit burnt out by Champions League football already. In the sense of just, all that energy and different night, everything's all highlighted a bit more from the fans, from the players as well, playing Champions League. And then, but back-to-back weekends after big results in the Champions League, they've drawn.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it'll have a major impact. Now, that's not me saying they won't get top four, though. That's me saying I feel like it opens the door for you slightly. Because I feel like they might be a bit vulnerable from that. And as a result, it'll give you a chance. And obviously, you playing Conference League means that you can just play. I mean, what was it? 7 of the starting 11 today didn't even travel.
Yeah, and I think it's 10 changes. So Conference League actually works out in our favour. It's just the travel bit and the bit away from the training, which I guess that's slightly impacted. But overall, in terms of those players getting a run out, it's absolutely perfect. Keeps them match sharp for whenever we get injuries.
Yeah, for sure. That is true. I wanted to highlight, United again today. Lost, late minute, lost to West Ham. Sat in 14th. 11 points, man, from 9 games. Jesus.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great for us, isn't it? But yeah, what's going on there, man? Why did they ever let Ten Hag stay in that job? Because he spent even more money in the summer buying players that he's worked with in the past.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic.
It just makes no sense.
Why? What are you thinking to give a guy that you're not confident in the war chest of players, and they're not players that you would typically get masses of sell-on value. You wouldn't think for, unless there are some of the younger ones, of course, but some of those players, I mean, they are purely Ten Hag signings, and it goes back to the thing from the year previously and the year prior to that. Like, what is going on with their scouting network and the system of buying players? Because it's so woefully behind all of the other clubs. It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
And the combination of squads that they've built are just so weak. Does he go after today's game? Maybe. Do you think he will go?
I mean, they're sat in 14th. They're on 11 points. So they're already 7 points off top 4, which obviously I know is not a lot after 9 games. But he proved this last season, as in, they were very hit and miss last season. They had a lot of bad results and a lot of times where they looked exposed and they looked vulnerable. So what do they do in the summer? They give him more players. He then gets off to a worse start than he did last season. They look vulnerable. They look exposed. They spent, I don't know how much they spent in the summer, like 60 million plus. And again, it's more players added to the squad that he's already built because he spent over 600 million. For this point now, for most fans, I know United fans, there are United fans out there who are very loyal and they always give the manager time. Easy to say when you had Fergie for like 27 years. This isn't Fergie. It's not going to happen. We already know. It's a failure. They need to get rid of him. And yet now, they're going to get rid of him halfway through a season to then bring in the next manager who will inherit again a terrible squad, or a squad on paper that isn't his. So he'll have to go through how many summers to clear that out and bring in their own players, and you have to hope this manager is going to be good enough. Yeah. I mean, if they sack him now, who are they going to hire? Southgate? Xavi. Oh, yeah, I did see he was linked. Southgate and Ashcroft link? I'd love him to hire Southgate.
Yeah. And Tuchel probably arguably the best coach who could probably have the most instantaneous impact with that squad gone. So, yeah, yep. I think maybe as a result of that, they move quickly for Xavi before he goes. I can't see there being any others really, unless they go with somebody like a
Thomas Frank,
statesman like Southgate, maybe. Yes, Thomas Frank. I think the problem, the challenge that they've got within that group that they've assembled as well, in terms of Wilcox and Ashworth and some of the others, the CEO that they've got from
City.
Manchester City,
Omar something. Can't remember. Begins with B.
Yeah. Barella, is it Borelli or something? I don't know. Who knows? But they from all the reports coming out is that they're like split over who they want to be the next coach, like what style, what type of individual. So when you've got that ongoing, it's like that makes it even more difficult for them to.
And this is what they were brought in to do. They were brought in to. Apparently, they had all this chaos behind the scenes back under like Ed Woodward and stuff. Ineos was meant to come in and create the structure that would build the foundation, and
it's a bad start for them. But we also saw it, at Chelsea, in terms of like it took 6-12 months to settle down, and then structure in place, and then it looks like we've got some sort of plan. But United giving all of that money to Ten Hag is just, I think that's going to ruin them for years to come, which I'm not particularly sad about. But it's those decisions are going to kill you for not just this year, but not just next year, the year after. Like, it's going to take, like you said, years and years to recover that. Because
how many windows you need?
Yeah, who's actually decent within that squad?
Exactly.
Go back to it with United. Like, for me, their biggest problem is the quote unquote their strongest player in Fernandes, because you can't build any tactics around somebody that just does whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a manager will come in and they would try and come in and say, right, this is the way that we want to play. He doesn't play a position. So how do you do that? I'm not saying he's the ultimate failure for Ten Hag, but I would say for all of those managers in there, like, how do you fit him into a system?
I know, and that's something they got to figure out, because you either do that or you sell, don't you? To try and then build a system and bring in players who will play in that system. By the way, Omar Barada, I had a little Google. He's on LinkedIn. I'll get him on the pod. Reach out. All right, Omar.
No, Eric Edmund,
Omar Barada, and the former Bertie Votes, the Scottish. Yeah. But to be fair, they're in a right mess. It's great to see as a Liverpool fan. But it's absolute garbage. But they've only got themselves to blame with that one. So
at the bottom of my shot for staying up, Ipswich going well every week since I've said that. They've lost.
I know, man. And they were 2-0 up.
Yeah.
Did you see the... I mean, obviously I didn't watch it live. I watched the highlights on Match of the Day. Did you see Murich's mistake for the fourth goal and Buemo's second? I mean, I didn't think he was a very good goalkeeper when I seen him at Burnley, to be honest. I don't see it.
He had a good game against Chelsea last year.
Well, there you go. Game. Maybe you should have signed him.
Yeah. We haven't got enough goalies.
Yeah, that is true. But no, I feel for them. They feel like the sort of team who's going to show a lot of heart, and ultimately the quality will let them down.
Yeah, I still think they've got a chance if they get a result and then build confidence from that.
Yeah.
It's looking difficult.
It is, and Southampton rock bottom. Only lost 1-0 to City, but honestly, I don't know, again, if you've seen it, but City had so many chances. Like, Haaland could have scored a hat-trick easily. And then they were saying, I only heard a little bit, but I think it was Walcott and Shearer and Lineker and Match of the Day talking about Southampton and saying, I think they were praising them for being like progressive and stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, but something to do with their defensive stats, how they try and win the ball up high and the way they press and stuff like this, and how they're good defensively with the ball because they try and keep the ball, blah, blah, blah. Mate, they've conceded like 19 goals in 9 games and sit bottom on 1 point.
Yeah.
There's the proof for your stats that it doesn't work, or it's not working currently. Burnley were the same. They came up thinking that they could just carry on playing the way they did in the Championship.
Yeah.
And getting found out. I think they're doomed. Southampton.
They're gonna. Yeah.
Southampton, Ipswich are going, in my opinion. Palace obviously got a good win today, so gives them their first win of the season. Wolves after their comeback, mate, and they got a good fixture list. Our mate Gary O'Neill, he's gonna be storming back up the league, I think, with Wolves.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I feel like Leicester will get dragged back into it. Like they haven't got that great a squad, have they?
No.
It's all the Championship promoted teams that are way behind in terms of their squad depth, and maybe Everton in and around it. But you'd like to think Palace with their team they would steer clear.
Yeah, I think Palace will be okay. I feel like they've got too much quality going forward.
Too much,
yeah. And I think they'll be able to stay up. Everton obviously have been, I mean, what is it, 5 games unbeaten now, so they put together a little bit of a run.
Yeah, they've got Southampton, West Ham, and Brentford next.
Big games.
They're going to be crunch games, yeah.
They are. Well, last question before we wrap up. We spoke about it last week, and you kept pushing me for an answer. Huh?
30 volts.
Yeah. Here he is. 30, come in, mate. No, you you pushed me last week for an answer, first manager to be sacked.
Yep.
You threw out Lopetegui. Lopetegui gets a win today. Big win. So maybe that delays that for a week or so. I'm going to now say, because I brought him up last week and obviously I've just bashed Southampton a little bit. I think Russell Martin. I feel like I don't know if he'll be sacked as in pushed out the door or mutually like, okay, this isn't working the way I want it to. Apparently he's highly thought of in football space, so I don't know if there might be like the chance of him getting a better job essentially. I think he'll go. I think he'll Scott Parker it, Bournemouth style. I'm going to put my neck out.
The fans absolutely love him there.
I know, but he whinges every week. I can see him like resigning.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't follow Southampton week in, week out. So obviously if the Southampton fans out there hear this, clipped or on the podcast, then they can tell me I'm wrong, which is fair. But I'll put my neck out on the line and say Russell Martin.
But could we get to a state by which we get through all the way to Christmas
and
there is no sackings at all?
I would be very surprised.
I mean, it's not something that happens regularly, but
itchy trigger fingers in the Premier League at the bottom.
Yeah, but with all of those sides in terms of Ipswich and Southampton, if they were to stay loyal to the manager, which
Ipswich should
look like they're going to do, and maybe nobody gets sacked before December.
True, even though I've literally just said Russell Martin, Southampton, Manchester United, Ten Hag.
That's true. Yeah, sugar. We didn't think about.
You can say shit if you want, mate.
Yeah. I don't know why I said that. Higher up the table is probably United, isn't it? That's probably most likely.
Yep, the way they're going. Race between him and Russell Martin in my mind. I'll stick with Russell Martin for now, but United need to get rid of him. I just don't know when.
Yeah. Indeed. Shall we end on that?
Yeah, end on that bombshell. All right, bombshell. But yeah, cheers for joining me, Ollie.
No worries, mate. That seemed very forced, didn't it?
That was incredibly forced because I did not know how to end it. But yeah, no, you're right. We should just end it. But yeah, if you are listening, obviously give the video a like, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. Share it with people as well so they can listen. And comment with your thoughts below what we discussed. Also, the podcast is out on Spotify as well. So if anyone wants to listen on Spotify for some reason, we need to start plugging it a little bit more on that side. Plugging it across different social medias, but it's on Spotify and it will probably come to Apple Podcasts at some point when I can be asked to sort it out because it's a little bit more convoluted than Spotify was. So I'll look into that. But yeah, anyway, cheers for joining, Ollie, and we'll be back next week to discuss some more Premier League.
No worries, mate. See you next week.
See you guys. How else am I meant to end it?
Oh no.